Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Let us know if we are live because it's Bobby Skinner, Giants Nation show, and we had a joint practice. My favorite types of practices, the joint ones. This time, Giants and Jets, and I want to talk all about it. I lost Novo, so let us know if we are live. There is no Ryan Novozinski. I guess he got a new job. He's going back to covering the Devils. Really good opportunity for him. Excited for him. Hell, I knew Novo before he was covering the Giants. He was doing the Devils. Devils fans are pumped. I'm pumped for him. I'm missing him. I wish he would have got the job maybe 1 week later. But I'm happy for Novo. So we are live. Giants Jets joint practice number one. Uh, this one was a slug, and that's kind of one. It was hot, and number two, you had two defenses getting after it, like consistently getting after it. Quarterbacks not getting the ball out, offensive linemen getting beat, and that's what you saw. And from the Giants' point of view, you can make some excuses for the Giants' offense. One, Malik Neighbors is not practicing; he is dealing with some type of injury. I don't know if it's the toe, a back, whatever, but he is dealing with some type of injury. Andrew Thomas is not out there. Jalen Hyatt wasn't out there, even though I don't think that makes the biggest difference in the world. And it's a very good Jets defense. So, I think we've all can accept, no matter how excited we are for the season, that if they are missing Malik Neighbors and Andrew Thomas, it's going to be a bad season. Those guys are, two of your three or four best players on the team. And it's hard to play offense without them. But it was just kind of really bad. It wasn't just middle of the road early on until they did a red zone period at the end. I had Russell Wilson at 5 of 10, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. They moved to they did a red zone period in which Russell Wilson was 3 for 4 with 2 touchdown passes. So in that period, Theo Johnson kind of had like a little stick and nod, and Russ fits it in there, right? Nice pass, Theo, nice catch. They do another rollout where Darius Slayton is running across the back of the end zone, and Russ puts it with great accuracy because it's not like Slayton was blowing this corner away. And there was 2 guys in that area, and he was able to make that play. Outside of that, though, Russ, started the day at 1 of 5 with sack. And this isn't just like in training camp, you'll see you'll see a play that might be a sack, but the quarterback throws the ball or whatever, and you're not sure. These were clear cut, right down sacks. And 3 of the first 4 plays were that. The first play, James Hudson gets beat outside in for a quick sack. The next one, I think Quinnen Williams beat either John Michael Schmitz or John Runyon to the point where Russ actually fell down on the play the way that those guys were driven back. And then the third one was either on Van Roten or Luminor, got around the edges of one of those guys. There's also a fly in this bus that's driving me freaking insane. It was really bad for them. So without Thomas, without Neighbors, you saw what the offense would be without those guys. And Russ just didn't have his first option there because Sauce Gardner's an amazing corner. And the Jets pass rush is really damn good, starting with Quinnen Williams, but they have good guys out there on the edge too. So one of the beat writers said, it was Greg Van Roten, excuse me, not, it was like some combination of Greg Van Roten and John Michael Schmitz. So Russ really struggled. Jackson Dart was 11 of 17, 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. Dart did kind of, blur the lines of was this a sack or a completion a couple times. You also had a couple misses on some throws that, one to Greg Dulcich, another one to Gunnar Olszewski. That could have been a nice play. But he also had some nice throws. You guys saw in the red zone period, the Giants social media posted him getting a quick pass out to Zach Pascal. Zach Pascal makes a great catch and ends up being a touchdown. So Dart, again, I had him 11 for 17, that 1 touchdown to Zach Pascal. The positives I will say on the offense, Theo Johnson looked good today. He had the touchdown catch. He had a nice intermediate pass from Jackson Dart. They're using him in the backfield. Like, it seems like, I don't know if Bellinger was practicing or not. I didn't notice Bellinger, but they were putting Theo Johnson in the backfield. In fact, there was one play where it was like a unbalanced set, and Theo Johnson lead blocks, and he does a really good job on a run play. And again, he led the team with 3 catches today. I want to talk about this as training camp is winding down. I have one more practice. I'm going to be at a joint practice tomorrow with Wan'Dale Robinson. He had one catch today, but he had a few targets, and the one catch, was a very short, like little bubble screen, or like a 3-yard out, kind of rub route type of play. They are targeting him down the field way more, and we expected that. He is just not pulling those passes in. I know that on day 2, he had this nice slot fade touchdown against Drew Phillips, and he caught it with one hand, and it was awesome. Like, oh, this guy's going to have a great year. He's not getting the volume that he got in the past, which is good. It's a good thing they're not giving him all that volume. But the issue is it's not just like, oh, he's not getting this high volume. They're not running those quick game passes for him. Like, he's not getting those little, 5-yard choice routes where you can go in, out, or just turn around and sit. He's not getting those opportunities very often. And when they're targeting him down the field, he's just not making these catches, right? Like, you have to throw a perfect pass, and he's not pulling them in. And I'm wondering that if Wan'Dale has a really disappointing year for some in a contract year. Other offensive notes on the positive, Marcus Bowe looked good. He did well in one-on-ones. He didn't get any starter reps. James Hudson at one point looked like he might be injured, but he was fine. But Marcus Bowe looked solid against the Jets, and the Jets have good depth on the defensive line. And then Montreal Washington is kind of up and down, right? I think probably the best passing play of the day was Jackson Dart, where it's that crosser play. It's the same exact play call that they ran the 2-minute drill, the preseason game, where Dart steps up in the pocket. He knows he wants to get to Montreal Washington on this crossing route, and he gets it to him, fits it in, tight coverage. Washington catches it, but he also had to drop on another play. And I think that's the kind of the up and down you're seeing with Montreal Washington is this is a guy who's got some juice as a receiver, can make some plays down the field, can make some yak plays, but also does have a drop issue. You saw the one on Saturday, saw one today. There's been others in practice. So you're seeing that with Montreal Washington, but I think he's making not the most because he could just catch every pass, but he's making good opportunity with the chances that he's getting. Other offensive notes, like I talked about with Wan'Dale Robinson, I think Michael Clemens was the guy who got the first sack on James Hudson. The Reds, we talked about the red zone touchdowns. The run game didn't look bad. Singletary had a couple cutback runs that were legitimate decent runs, but the run game overall didn't look bad. I talked about Marcus Bowe, Wan'Dale Robinson. There was a bad snap between Austin Schlottman and Jackson Dart that ruined a rep. 7-on-7s, which I try to not think about like get involved in like Jets fans' reaction to however we do these joint practices every year. But the 7-on-7s kind of don't matter, right? Because I'll look at this. Russ went 6 of 8 and 7-on-7, and Jackson Dart went 6 for 6. But this mostly just quick passes, so you have no thought of even having pressure. And there's not much inside help. Like you have easy throwing lanes. So these guys complete them, and Justin Fields completed most of his. But they were neither one of them were pushing the ball down the field. But I will say the best 2 plays for Russ and Dart was Bo Collins, who was in at first team receiver for Malik Neighbors on a nice corner route where Russ put a little bit back shoulder, and then Jackson Dart hit Montreal Washington on a corner. But the wide receiver conversation of who's going to make the team is interesting because Malik Neighbors was out today, and Bo Collins gets his snaps. And I don't know if Malik Neighbors has a major injury, but he is dealing with an injury. Like, he's not missing these practices because of maintenance. Like, he is dealing with an injury. They had Dexter Lawrence, who is coming off of like a significant injury that made him miss time. Like, Dexter Lawrence had his biggest practice. Neighbors is dealing with something. I don't know if it's that same toe. It could be a back. I don't know, but he is dealing with something. So hopefully that's not something that's going to hold him out for, up until week 1. But at least if he's back there for week 1. And I want to do all the questions kind of in segments instead of doing the whole stream and then questions. So I don't want to, if you want to give me your offensive questions, I'll kind of wrap up my thoughts on the offense and then we'll move to the defense. Because it's solo, I'm not saying we might not go as long. Because I can't just make up things to talk about. No conversation. So give me your offensive questions, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily to this practice. So last offensive notes. Yeah, I think I got it. Again, Bo Collins. Well, but what I was saying is Bo Collins is getting the first team snaps instead of Malik Neighbors. Now Bo Collins plays outside and then Washington plays slot. So if Wandale was injured instead of Neighbors, I do think Washington would got that opportunity. But like they do like this UDFA Bo Collins coming back from like his first practice coming back from injury in a week, and they're just like, yep, you're the first team. They're just throwing him right back out there. They're not throwing Lil Jordan Humphrey out there, who had the touchdown. Like they're giving Bo Collins that. Is Elijah Chapman playing fullback? Yeah, Arch Stapleton reported that today. I wasn't able to like notice him on those plays and watch him because they were playing on the far field and coming at me. Which the Jets, you could tell they have a new coaching staff and new GM staff because their training camp practices are a lot less accommodating. Where last year when we went to Jets Commanders joint practices, they had the one-on-ones close to, like that. I don't have any one-on-one notes, unfortunately. They had the one-on-ones close to the stands. They brought had the action going towards where the fans are. This they tried to tuck them away as far as possible as they could. Theo Johnson locking down tight end one. Asked the Duke. Yeah, I think it's not even a conversation. Theo Johnson is the tight end one. Are you worried about John Michael Smith? Yeah, I am. I think when we face awesome defensive tackles, I think he's going to be a liability. When I think we're facing middle of the road, we're not going to be talking about JMS much, but he's not going to get this big advantage. But when you're facing guys like Quentin Williams today, I think JMS is going to be a worry. Does Stinney replace Kubis on the depth chart? I don't know. I mean, Jake Kubis actually got some first-team reps today coming off of a bad preseason performance. They didn't give those snaps to Aaron Stinney. So they still like Jake Kubis. I mean, they did put him on the roster last year. Make sure to like and subscribe, by the way. The pass to from Russell Slayton was pretty good in the red zone. Yeah, that was a really nice throw by Russell Wilson. So, all right, let's go to the defensive notes first. I need to tell you that this practice recap was brought to you by Body Armor. Body Armor has brought you all a training camp. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, and no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners with great tasting flavors like strawberry banana and orange mango. I like strawberry banana. Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor Sports Drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor, choose better. In all reality, thank you so much to Body Armor. Like you guys, I see you guys' tweets, I see you guys' comments. Keep them coming because I'm going to send them to Body Armor and be like, hey, thank you for the support. The listeners are reacting well to this. They love this. The audience loves it. And I think you guys appreciate the show. And I think I would love to go to Body Armor. Hey, look what we did. Let's keep this going for another year. But thank you so much. They jumped on board right away when I left Talking Giants and created Giants Nation show. Again, they were one of the first people to reach out. Was them and the Sussex County Miners, and they are making training camp possible. I told them I was like, my priority is getting training camp taken care of. They said, let's do it. So they're going to be going with us into the season too. So thank you to Body Armor. Defensive notes, and this is where the positive comes from. Yeah, you're going to get that damn burnout video. Don't you worry. So make sure to like and subscribe. And I forgot to retweet the stream. Let me retweet the stream. We tweet the stream. I shouldn't group all Jets fans in. Actually, you know what? I will. The Jets fans, because like I said, 7-on-7s, none of the quarterbacks had any incompletions, essentially, except for like a drop by like one of Justin Fields' receivers. So like the Jets offense didn't look good today. But when they started team drill, Justin Fields threw like 4 or 5 passes in a row underneath. I think he started 4 or 5 or 5. Wasn't pushing the ball downfield at all. And so they're like, he started 13 of 13. It's like, you're using 7-on-7 stats. And because after that, it was like the Jets offense isn't doing anything. Like they're not completing anything down the field. And there was sack after sack after sack after sack, big plays. And I will say this, I put it in the little scroller too. Kind of crazy for the Jets to take a play where Abdul Carter had a clear win as a sack. And I think someone clipped it. I didn't have clips. That was another thing is anytime we tried to record, they would get on, you're not allowed to record the practice. you're not allowed to record which is like, what are we gonna see? That they run man? I thought about as a troll afterwards is like just putting together a fake tweet of like the Jets defense uses cover 3 38% of the time, cover 1 27% of the time. They use simulated pressures. They used this stubby coverage, and just putting that all out and just tagging the Jets and all their PR people on Twitter. But I didn't do that. But the defense got after it. Like I said, Justin Fields started 4-4 or 5-5 or whatever it was. I wasn't keeping track of Justin Fields numbers like I was the offense. But none of it was down the field, and then it got brutal. And I'm sure some of the Jets people have stats on it, but Justin Fields was missing passes. He wasn't getting the ball out, and there was just Brian Burns. I thought had his best day of training camp, which I think speaks fairly high. But it makes you feel a little bit better about the Giants tackle situation. Is the fact that Brian Burns was putting the work to Armand Membu, the first round pick out of Mizzou, getting around the corner consistently. I thought it was his best practice, except for maybe one other one that he had that was a really good one in training camp. He was getting after it. Dexter Lawrence, and I think this is a big part of it too, is the quarterback step up, and Justin Fields kind of has bad pocket presence. Dexter Lawrence was actually out there practicing and pushing the pocket and creating would-be sacks for him as well. Abdul Carter was getting wins. There was that clip where that's why I forgot to even get to my point. The Jets put out a clip of Justin Fields rolling to his left and completing a pass to Tyler Johnson. And they cut out the whole first part where Abdul Carter's lined up on the center, Joe Tippmann, and he smokes him on outside in. Just absolutely destroys him. And Carter has a sack. Carter just stops, right? Because that's what he's going to do. And the Jets clip that part out and put that on there. It's like, look at Tyler. Tyler Johnson has to show him. Like, well, that would have been a clear-cut sack. So, that's how the Giants are going to have to win. And the Jets have a bad offense, too. Like, I think their defense is very formidable. Their offense is going to be a bad offense this year, right? Justin Fields is not a good quarterback. Garrett Wilson is their only, receiving weapon until, Mason Taylor shows something. And then, the run game even hopefully should be better. Then offensive line should be decent as well too, as long as Membu looks good. But they're not a good offense. They got after it, man. Like it was consistent, constant pressure. And it was good to see them do that against somebody that's not the New York Giants. And that's what I love about these joint practices is like you don't have to judge your guys versus your guys. It's all about another NFL team. I think for starters, you can have more takeaways in this than in preseason games because you actually are trying to run your defense and not running bland basic stuff. You are getting after, you are sending blitzes. You are looking to find mismatches. And it's just, to me, it feels like a different atmosphere for preseason for the starters. The backups and third stringers, it's definitely games are more important. But for the starters, I think, and you get more action where the starters don't get a ton of action in preseason. So that was good to see. And again, the Jets have, I don't know, maybe some of these guys aren't practicing, but, they like Joe Tippmann a lot. Elijah Vera Tucker's really good. Olu Fashanu, I will say Olu did a good job today. He basically shut down Kayvon Thibodeau. He even had some good matchups with Abdul Carter. But they were able to get the rest of those guys. Armand Membu, he's a rookie, but he still is a first rounder. John Simpson, someone they paid a lot of money for. And I think Dex being out there did make a difference. Where we've seen Abdul Carter and Brian Burns get wins in Giants training camp, having Dex out there more consistently, I do think just brought a more consistency to what they were doing pressure-wise, where like Dex just wins all the time. Where Burns wins sometimes, Carter's is going to become a win all the time guy. But when you have two guys like that, it's just you're usually getting to the quarterback unless they're getting the ball out quick. And that's really the only thing Justin Fields could do. I'm serious. I don't think he completed a pass over 20 yards. I really don't. Granted, the Giants didn't either, but I'm pretty confident Justin Fields did not complete any passes over 20 yards in team drills. And I don't think he did in 7-on-7s either, even though, again, he did complete almost all of his passes in 7-on-7. So that was good. On the back end, you didn't have Drew Phillips. He's dealing with injuries. Banks, you didn't notice much for him. But again, Garrett Wilson, I've been to Jets training camp practices before, and Garrett Wilson will put on a show no matter who was at quarterback. And that just didn't happen today. He made some plays, but that didn't happen at all today. And once they got down in the red zone, right, where like, yes, did the Giants offense finish strong in the red zone? Sure, but they did nothing all day that would say they're going to get to the red zone to have those like, oh, we had 2 touchdowns. Okay, well, yeah, you got the ball just spotted at the 12. I'd hope you'd get there eventually. But when the Jets got there, they gave up a sack. Justin Fields missed the pass. And then Jets listen, I hate to keep on, dragging on Jets fans, but like Justin Fields rolls to his left and completes a pass to Jimmy Rucker, it would have been another Abdul Carter sack. At bare minimum, Abdul Carter would have been disrupting the throw at some point. But again, he's not going to run at Justin Fields and hit him. That's just not going to happen. So like, even though there's they could celebrate that, that would have been a sack. So I don't think either offenses look good at all. And the only saving grace was the Giants' red zone offense at the end, which again they didn't display anything that showed that they would get into the red zone. I didn't do much on I guess I did with Jackson Dart, where it was just like, you know, some middle, blurred the line, could be sacks, but nothing special out of him. Nothing terrible either. No interceptions on the day for either team, which I think I love seeing interceptions in joint practices and having some definitive results on the play, but you didn't see that. Let's see. Other defensive notes. Elijah Chapman had some wins. Darius Alexander in that red zone had a would-be sack too, which, again, just want to see something out of him. So that was good from Darius Alexander. Other defensive notes that I have. Oh, yeah, and that's another thing. The 7-on-7 incompletion, I don't think it was a drop. Javon Holland got his hand in there and popped that ball out. The receiver still should have caught it, but Holland got his hand in there. First guy out was Casey Corrado. So we're at 22 minutes, and again, like I said, I can't tell you I'm going to go this full period of time. I know it's better for me to go for a long time and get long-winded, but going to finish off with some of your questions. Let me get some body armor water, and get your guys' questions in, and I could take this time to talk about whatever other stuff. And I think I'm going to try and get somebody on for the stream tomorrow. So make sure to like and subscribe. One, I would like to know what you guys thought of the Jordan Renan stuff. Now I know people obviously on the channel are going to like when I'm on it, but it's not going to be me on it every week. But obviously, it made sense for the first episode for me to be on it. I'm really excited about that. It's something as little as Jordan has the biggest Giants following, and he's just me tweeting about our channel once per week. I mean, I'm excited about that, right? He's gonna be posting a link to our channel once per week. So I think it's going to go really well. I think he's got big goals for it, and he's not just doing it for the sake of doing it. I think he wants to, do interviews and try different things. So yeah, Kevin Schubert, Holland punched it out. Good play. And we got one super chat too. So, I think that's going to be a good thing, as we go on, and hopefully I can get some extra information out of it. And I can push Jordan to hey, stop. If you know something, say it. That's something I'll say with reporters, because I talk with a lot of them. A lot of times they'll have information, they won't say it. Just say the damn information. They're not gonna. You're not gonna lose people that talk to you. Talk to you as long as you don't admit. Say who it's coming from. Pat Lerner gets probably the most information. He says everything that he freaking hears. Cliffside, how are the offensive line losing reps? Speed rush, stunts, interior, and what are your thoughts on the DB so far this summer? I pick Austin, Texas, by the way. So make sure we put Austin, Texas in the live show raffle. Make note of that, please. So James Hudson lost outside in. Greg Van Roten lost by a power rush. The other one I think was some type of stunt on the first 4 plays, and then there was a couple after that, which I don't have great note of, and because they're not Giants players, I'm not taking note of exactly which players were doing them. But it felt like more speed rushes around the corner, and then Quinnen Williams pushing the pocket. So I think that's what we got out of that's how they were losing today. Yeah, we did talk about Marcus Bowe. He looked solid. Let's see. Trade Hyatt for that's another thing. Hyatt, where's Hyatt? The beat reporter said that he was a full participant in all the practices up until the preseason game. So I don't know when that injury happened, but He did add some weight. I don't think it's made a huge difference. I don't think he looks that much bigger, but he's still the skinniest receiver by far. But if he had that weight and he can't get healthy, we're just kind of screwed when it comes to Jalen Hyatt. But I would trade Jalen Hyatt. By the way, I've kind of said that in the summer. I wanted to, I wanted to see what he'd do in training camp, and unfortunately, not seeing anything. The issue is, I don't think you can get anything for Hyatt. Again, maybe a 6th and 7th round pick swap, but I would do that too. Like, you say don't give up on talent. I've given up on Jalen Hyatt. As we get closer to the end of training camp, how do you see the Giants truly doing this year? It's just tough to pick them to win games against their opponents. And I know that sounds so stupid. That sounds like a long-winded, a wordy sentence for no reason, but their schedule is really tough. And even some of the weaker teams on their schedule are teams that could get stronger. And I think it's just, can Malik Neighbors put 21 points? Not obviously by himself, but can Malik Neighbors be good enough to where this offense is putting 21 points on the board consistently? Because I think the defense is good enough pass rush wise to give them some wins. But you got to have all those things working together at once, and not this one game where they have a big offensive showing, but then Jaden Daniels puts 31. So, I don't have faith of the Giants like making the playoffs or anything like that, right? And I can make an argument for 7 wins, and I can make an argument for 3-4 wins. They're not favored, and they're favored in one game the entire season. But I just think that pass rush and Malik Neighbors should be able to get some more out of it with more competent quarterback play than they've had in the past. So training camp, I think maybe I'm just getting hyped, but I do think training camp has raised my expectations a little bit, because you've seen some consistency in what they're doing, and it's not up and down. Where Daniel Jones training camps would feel up and down outside of 23 when it was great and then they were bad. No, I didn't see any of the injured players. Again, one, they would have been very far away from me, but it's also not the Giants facility, so it doesn't make sense if guys weren't going to practice to even show up, because it's not like the Giants are hanging out there for the day. They're doing their media availability, and then they're likely going back to the Giants facility. Hell, when we were in Detroit, the Giants players worked out one day, offense worked out one day, defense. I would assume because the facility is there that they're not working out at the Jets facility. Does it feel like health is our biggest worry still until we? Yeah, and that's why I guess that's why I'm not getting overly excited about the offense in training camp. Is if they're like they are today, they're going to be a bad offense, and that defense can be good, but they're not going to win games. And again, and the Jets are I think the Jets are going to be a bad team this year. Their defense, I think, is good, but I don't think it's going to be better than what it was. Not last year, because last year when they fired Saleh, it got worse. But the 2 years before that, just defense was really good. I don't think Aaron Quinn is getting better than what Saleh got out of the defense in 2022 and 2023. I don't think he's doing that. In fact, I think Aaron Quinn, or not Aaron Quinn, Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn. I know it's, we're talking about culture and changing and stuff like that with the Jets, but I've never really been that impressed with Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator. And Detroit. In fact, they've lost. They've been. It's at times their defense has been flat out terrible under Aaron Glenn. He just plays a lot of man coverage and lets his pass rushers rush. Let's see. Bo Collins was out there again. He was working with the starting group. I'm going to end this. Yeah, so Wes, that's kind of the formula. Could this team be a similar 2016 defense steps up in OBJ? Now Neighbors carries. I think that's the way. So you can't afford to be losing Neighbors. And Neighbors also had, like, that 2016 season was just so special for Odell. He had so many great seasons that season. Like, he just kind of dragged them to victories in that game. Think about some of the strong defensive outings. as there's a freaking wasp in the bus. I'm definitely ending this because I'm allergic as shit to that thing. But like the Ravens game, the Cowboys game, like, yeah, the defense was great in those games, but they needed Odell's slant touchdowns. All right, I'm ending this stream. Here's the burnout. And I'm getting off this damn bus. Oh, and let's go Big Blue.